So the EU looks like they have just done a pretty damn fantastic thing. There has been a bill that has passed regarding the re-immigration of, shall we say, individuals that are anti-West, that the socialists have allowed into Western countries. And it is amazing.
And it is adopted. So Okay.
Yeah.
We have many votes to go through, guys. Let's...
So, here's the whole blurb about it. On March 26th, the European Parliament voted 389 to 206 to advance negotiations on overhauling the 2008 Return Directive, aiming to speed up deportations of irregular migrants. Key changes include return hubs in third countries to detain rejected asylum seekers, up to 24-month detention in high-risk cases, returns to safe third countries, mutual recognition of expulsion orders, and entry bans up to 10 years. Supporters like Sweden Democrat Charlie Weimers hail it as the start of a deportations era. Beautiful. Driven by countries such as Germany and the Netherlands, forming a deportation coalition, while opponents including Greens, obviously, and Amnesty International warn of rights breaches and unaccountable legal black holes. The approval reflects a rightward shift post-2024 elections and sets up talks with EU governments though final laws remain uncertain amid trialogues. So this is typically the socialists and the Marxists and the liberals and all of those people on that side of the aisle. They'll continually obfuscate, they'll continually make excuses for what they've done to these countries. They'll continually say, oh no, but it's so unhumanitarian. These poor migrants, they're attempting to flee, they're attempting to lead better lives. And it's the continual same tropes that they would continually play. Yet it's not at all the truth. The left are, one could make the claim that the left are really the inciters of the violence. They are the ones that allow this into the countries. They are the ones that fund it in the countries. Take, for instance, Nick Shirley and the work that he's done regarding exposing the Minnesota fraud and now the fraud in California. It does seem like there's a common thread between the liberals supporting fraud and illegal migrants having businesses. And how long does it carry on? How long does the wool get pulled over our eyes before we come to the logical conclusion of no, the left are fundamentally the problem? Sure, the migrants are of course a problem and they need to be sorted out, but the left are, to not be too extreme, but at the end of the day, the left are the extremists. One could even argue that the left are the initial domestic terrorists. And bills such as this, it's taken a long time for this to happen, but it's absolutely the right move. And of course, these are a few of the proponents of the bill that have allowed the bill to happen, and it's a beautiful thing.
But this time the danger does not come from without, it comes from within.
Yep.
It has been rising from the globalist elites in Brussels and in too many European capitals, and precisely because it wears a mask of benevolence, it is so diabolically dangerous. They flood our countries with illegal mass migration. They force our own people to feed house and privilege these masses.
And the they there, that is referring to the leftists.
While crime explodes, terrorism stalks our streets, and Islamic extremism takes root. And in doing so, they steal the very soul of our European nations.
Yep. And that's why, it's always this red-green alliance tends to get overlooked so quickly, tends to be brushed under the carpet, because they don't want to get exposed. It's quite easy to expose clearly what the immigrants are doing, clearly what they do in the streets, clearly what they do to women and children, the rape gangs, the grooming gangs, all the violence. That's quite out there. But fundamentally, that obviously needs to get dealt with, for sure, and that thankfully is getting dealt with and needs to happen swiftly. But fundamentally, who allowed them into the countries? Who allowed them business opportunities? It was the left. It was the liberals with their bleeding hearts. They allowed it in, and it has to be stopped.
Illegal immigration is a well-orchestrated business for the orchestrators to make a fortune and to Islamize Europe. You have filled our countries with illegal migrants with the blessing of Germany and France. We pay Islam that hates us out of our savings to turn our cities into ghettos, to rape and to murder before our eyes in the name of Allah.
Yep.
We are filled with Muhammad and Mahmoud in a Europe that has become unrecognizable. There are solutions. Strengthen by all means the countries that are the first entry points, such as Greece, Italy, and Spain. Those who enter European territory illegally, they should receive no benefits, they should receive no asylum. They should be arrested, they should have their mobile phones confiscated,
and deported.
They should be taken to uninhabited islands, and then they should be deported to their country or
100%.
Countries outside of the European Union.
Absolutely.
Stop subsidizing their accommodation and subsidize their deportation. Our guiding light ought to be the policies of Hungary and of and Poland. It's quite clear that those who violate our borders are entering their unwanted guests, and they're destroying our countries. So begin mass deportations immediately. Money exists. Airports exist. Detention centers are there. Kick them out before Europe dies. We want our countries, our identity, and our values. And if you so-called sensitive socialists, well, why don't you look at yourselves? Because you are the biggest racists against Europe.
So true.
Illegal.
So true. Exactly right. It's the socialists, once again, that are the real enemies of the West. And I suppose in Europe and the UK, it's because the sympathy has gone out because, well, they kind of look similar to us. They've kind of been brought up in similar surroundings to us. I know I'm speaking from South Africa, but in South Africa it's easier to tell, not necessarily just from a racial perspective, but from an ideological perspective. Unfortunately, in the UK, in the European nations and in America, it's been a slow, gradual approach that the leftists have taken, which has unfortunately paid off. But it does seem like people are finally starting to wake up. Well, people have woken up for quite a long time, but it seems like stuff is finally starting to happen in the regard. And then of course you've got these kind of instances which will always play out. Muslims in the UK are now creating their own security firms to patrol their communities. Soon they will introduce Sharia law.
To ensure, as some of you already know, we have made our Manchester Community Watch with over 130 verified members. But we're not going to stop there.
Of course not.
I am currently in the process of getting my SIA license because we are creating a security firm to ensure everyone within our community stays safe. I want to give a big shout out to Regent Security Force for coming down all the way from Blackburn to show solidarity. Together, we will make a difference. If anyone would like to join our security team, drop me a message.
And they'll always use the idea of security. They'll always use the idea of, no, it's security and it's protection for our people. No, it's a smokescreen. Sharia law by default mandates absolute dominion. It's either convert or, well, ... So this whole idea of they're doing it for security purposes, let's think about it nicely. Who are the ones that beat the crap out of people in the streets? Who are the ones that have the grooming gangs? Who are the ones that have the rape gangs? Who are the ones running around just killing people just because? Them. And then all of a sudden, when fire gets met with fire, then all of a sudden, oh, we're the victims. We need protection. Please help us. Help us, benevolent liberals. And the benevolent liberals are too quick to say, oh, the right are so hateful. The right are so terrible. How dare you do this? Don't you know that these people are also humans? The point is, of course they're humans. The problem is the ideology is antithetical to the West. Their religion is a rubbish religion. It's about world domination. It's about destruction. And it cannot be reasoned with. And attempting to do so, this course has failed. And it's now time to make a stand. And thank God that people are actually finally starting to make a stand. Here's more of the repercussions.
In Brussels, 88% of all kids under the age of 20 have foreign origins.
Yeah.
8 out of 9 major German cities, more than half of the children under 16 have a migration background. And those kids, I can tell you, don't identify as European one bit. So if you have young white children in schools here in Europe, then you need to understand that the time of ordinary bullying is over.
Yeah.
Something much more sinister has emerged across Europe, and it's something that I would characterize as racial humiliation rituals. Every single day, videos circulate online of immigrant youth who single out a white boy or a girl, force their victim to their knees, and then proceed to torment and abuse them. Now don't think that that is random. The migrant kids that are doing this film themselves doing it, and they have actual terms, slang, that signify the process of what they are doing, which is to threaten and intimidate their white victim. They do it with intent. They do it because they are racially aware and they consider themselves the dominant group. White children for decades have been told the schizophrenic mind boggle that on the one hand, they shouldn't see color, and on the other, they should be ashamed just because they are white.
Yeah. And that's why the left, it's all on them. Fundamentally, it's their fault. They're the ones that have gaslitten people on the right, especially if you're white, for so long that somehow you're the fault and reparations need to be made. You need to feel like scum. You need to feel like a rubbish. And what we're about to do by allowing all these illegal immigrants, all these people that have a different ideology to you, what we're about to do when they come in, and what they're about to do to you, because you're a toxic white person and you're a colonizer, you must allow it. You must allow it to happen, and don't you dare speak up about it, because otherwise you'll get cancelled. Otherwise we'll make your life a living hell. We'll throw every single slur, every single law, every single hindrance against you and in your tracks, because once again the leftist ideology is antithetical to the West. And this was from a month ago. This really just sums it up again. I went ahead and looked at it again today. This really sums up exactly the mindset of the liberal.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
I'll take that back.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
And as we know, that is the left. Also on the left side of the room, so obviously. Yeah, and that is exactly their mindset. That is why they are unconcerned about the domestic citizens. They are unconcerned about the citizens working, trying to support their families, trying to make families. I mean, as we all know, there's a huge population crisis within predominantly the Western world because people aren't having children. Economic factors and many, many factors to be sure. It would be interesting to find out how far the fraud goes and how much of the fraud has made people's lives in Western countries difficult because of that fraud, and how much of that fraud once again is linked to the left. You look at the likes of Nick Shirley, who's done awesome work exposing the fraud, in particular in Minnesota and California. So if the left seems to want illegal immigrants to flood Western civilization, and they also want to go ahead and create fraud and create fake businesses for the illegal immigrants to come in, it does seem like fundamentally they are actually the big problem. People on the left, because of socialist, Marxist mindsets. That mindset is just inherently antithetical and opposed and hostile to Western civilization. So I think what has happened with the EU, 389 to 206 in favor of stricter re-immigration, getting people out that don't belong in countries, 100% based, 100% normal. And it does definitely seem that there's something in the air, some sanity that has entered people's brains, and enough people now, shall I say, enough people in positions of power to finally make a stand against it. And it all starts with social media. It all starts with people exposing the truth as much as they can. Just normal people on a day-to-day basis with their phones out, making videos and exposing the insane hypocrisy of the left, exposing the dangerous ideology that comes from a leftist mindset and the repercussions of it. And enough is enough. And it's finally, with actions like this, it's starting to be seen. And now the West can slowly begin to turn back to what it was always supposed to be, back to what it always was. The same left that abolished slavery, the same West that abolished slavery, the same West that created all the things that the West has created: technological advancements, advancements in healthcare, advancements in so many fields. It does seem like there's some kind of push back to some kind of normality in the West. And yeah, this is the result of many, many years of the left doing typical terrible leftist things that they do, and people exposing it. And now, finally, there is some fruit in that regard. Anyway, folks, that's all I got for you, and we'll check you on the next one.